All right. I am here with Ron Worley. Ron, welcome to the Conquering Everest podcast.
Thank you, Brian. Nice to see you, and thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, certainly. You've got a really good story that I can't wait to get into. But before we do that, why don't we give our listeners a little introduction to who Ron Worley is?
Yeah, you bet. So I am a hardworking family man who believes in trustworthy and bravery and a whole bunch of other values that they'll have to read my book to find out. But what I do is I'm recently a new author, but I'm in real estate and I've been doing bail bonds for 25 years. An entrepreneur spirit. So I've opened a whole bunch of companies, probably 11 or 12 as of the last time I did my media sheet anyways. And that's me in a nutshell. Predominantly, I'm a family man. That's what I think I am.
Very cool. I was looking at your website, and we got on here. One of your descriptors is a millionaire and an advisor.
Yeah,
that sounds like a great place to be, but it wasn't always that way for you.
No.
Let's take a trip back in time and go back to that time where you kind of had a shift in your life that that you had to recover from.
Yeah. So, and the reason we put that in there is because I'm not I do everything for free. I feel like I'm an advisor for life. And, I just so happen to have made some money along my career. And I just want to help other people. My language is that your business is an extension of you. And if you're unhealthy, your business is going to be unhealthy. And so I try to clear that up right away. And I help them with the first part, which is helping themselves. But yeah, so back in 2003, I was homeless and addicted and to everything. Anything I touched, I was, I did it way too much. Predominantly alcohol, though, and I was even to a point where I'd lost everything in my life, including my home and my family. And here I was in Nebraska, just homeless and had nowhere else to go. And I just rolled my second car in as many years. And when I come out of I got pitched from the vehicle and, it was in pretty bad shape. When I woke up in the hospital, it clicked that, hey, you're not going to die. So it's probably time to change something. And God's got something for you because you've tried really hard to kill myself. So that was the switch. I had been 6 months without seeing my kids at that point, and that was brutal in my heart. And I know it was brutal for them. They don't remember it at all now, but at the time it was horrible for them. And we were tight up to that point. And my father wasn't around. And so I was putting myself in their place, but also I was putting myself in his place. And the amount of alcohol and drugs and addictions that he had was simply to drown that feeling of not having your kids around. And so it's like a perpetual cycle, man. And I was in the cycle. So thank God for me. I had my mom before me that was sober at that time, I think like 10 years. And I just, that was time to change. So yeah. off to AA I went.
What was life before that moment for you? Like, would you consider yourself successful in business? Sounds like you had your family. So from that standpoint, you were doing well, but how would you describe your life before it all crumbling down on you?
So I had periods of good times in between all the bad times. Every time things were going good, I would find a way to make it all come tumbling down. And that was from the beginning. My parents got me high my first time on marijuana when I was 2 years old. And it was an occurring event to help me go to sleep and things like that. And by the time I was 12, I was a full-blown alcoholic drug addict. I was in 7th grade. I was out, stealing alcohol from parents and drinking and every single weekend. So, it eventually that caught up when I when I got away from my family, I went to 3,500 miles away from Alaska, where I graduated high school, to Nebraska, where I was hopefully going to play football, and left to my own vices. I think I made it there 2 years and was kicked out of school the first year and the second year, and never went back. So, I had, up to that point, I had done many things through alcoholism and drug addiction that would take me 10 steps back. I cheated on my wife. I treated her like I would come home angry and drunk and all that good stuff. And to that point, I mean, I was raised by a wife beating alcoholic myself. And what I saw men do was go home, beat their wives, have sex with them, and then get up and go to work. And that was life. And that's what I thought it was. And even though I knew better, it just, that was the easy path. It was to tear up my marriage. So, I think I was married the first time for 4 years, and it was miserable for her the entire 4 years.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your parents. So, it sounds like they had their own addictions that they were fighting with as well. And then to pull you in at such a young age, did you ever have any conversations as an adult with either your mother or father to kind of go back and look at that time and ask why or anything like that?
Yeah. So, with my mother, she was my biggest enabler. And up to 2003, I'd worked for her as a bail agent in her company for, I think, 3 years. And I was making good money, and things were going good. And I was probably too young to ask, but once I got sober and I could kind of understand where she was coming from, that question was out there. Now, on that token, our relationship was business. It was not mother-son. It had never been mother-son. From the time I was a little kid, I was her husband. I was my brother's father, and I was that male role model until she met my stepfather, who I call my father. I think I was 14 when that happened. And so he kind of, he stepped into that role. But for us, we were just happy to have a relationship. It didn't have to be mother-son relationship. And so we had that talk. We still have that talk. It's an ongoing thing. I try not to blame her anymore. But there's things that I've caught on that I do that was just like her. And a lot of them are positive, bro. A lot of them are positive, but I still have I have my demons still. I'm, still normal. Right. Now, as far as my father goes, in fact, he died in 1997. He was killed by the Salina police.
Oh man.
Yeah. And that was a big deal back then, which caused me a lot of, I went down a terrible path during probably about a year after he died. It was just bad. I couldn't deal with it. So the hardest thing to do is to forgive somebody who's dead. They can't really answer back or anything. So really what I had to do is forgive him and forgive myself for the way I felt about him when he died. Because, we were in a fight, and he was not a great man or anything by those means. Right. Interesting though, I have 5 brothers and sisters below me. My dad had 6 kids. Me and my brother Les, we think of my father a certain way, and he's definitely fallible, and he's definitely a lot of bad things in our eyes. But my youngest brother, who was 8 when he died, he's still King Kong. He was the man. He was, because he died before that brother got to see the fallible part in him. And all of us, he died before we were able to work out any of the junk that needed to be worked out. So
yeah, that's too bad, because like you said, it is hard to forgive, but let alone try to forgive somebody that's no longer there. It's almost, and I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist by any means, and I don't think you are either. But it's almost like you have this it's like unfinished business. Like a door you want to close, but you can't quite close it all the way. But when you got to be a family man yourself and a father and a husband, and you had mentioned that you weren't faithful in your marriage, do you think that was, I mean, like, because I know for me, same thing. I mean, I was not faithful in my marriage. And when I got divorced, I did a lot of self-reflection. I had to figure out, I wanted to figure out why was I the way I was? Did you have that kind of moment? And if you did, what did you discover about yourself?
Yeah, so I did. I've had lots of those moments, and I still have those moments where I wonder why. One of the great things about getting sober is I spent 5 years with a counselor. I call it intensive treatment, but it was once to twice a week. And the first thing we did was go backwards and figure out, where's all this coming from? It's all from childhood. This is what I learned. These are behaviors. And then how can I correct it? And so I was able to correct a lot of those behaviors with processes. But the seeing a pretty girl on the side of the road or on the street or something, that thought is the seeing a pretty woman is never going to, I'm still going to think she's pretty.
Right.
But it's the acting that I no longer have to do. And yes, I found out that I was spoiled or entitled, that I thought if they're pretty and they like me, I need to have sex with them, and they're obligated to have sex. So, I was getting what I wanted, and I didn't respect anything I couldn't see, which the marriage was, just this, it was a code that I was supposed to follow. And I didn't have any respect for that. So I think, in general, men are wired a certain way, and we do believe in codes. And until I actually put values in my life, processes and things I did, reacting to emotion and all that, it just meant nothing until I actually had something to live for. And now I don't drink, I don't cheat, I don't do those things because my values hold me in place and tell me I can't do them, because I can't live with myself. It's no longer getting caught doing it that worries me. It's I'm catching myself,
Right.
We all tell white lies and stuff, and every once in a while I'll bend the truth or move the truth, and I'll be like, dang it, I'm catching myself and being mad at myself about it. So those are things that changed over the years.
Yeah. I think what you said there, identifying what your true values are, what do you stand for? That's probably an exercise that not nearly enough of us do. We don't take the time to really say, what do I value? Who do I want to be? And when you talk about the extramarital relationships, was it just physical for you, or was it like the validation from that you got? Did it make you feel like more of a man, or was it just purely, hey, physical, she looks good, I want to be with her type thing?
No, definitely not the second. I find still to this day, I feel love through sex. And that being said, I was looking for love from a woman because my mom's love as a child was not there. I was never a child to her. I was, like I said before, I was in a relationship with her. And that being said, it was also a very provocative relationship. I felt like she was cheating on me when she brought men into the house. And so those kind of feelings, I never had the mother love. And, not to say I don't have it now, because I do, but, then when it was formidable, I didn't have it. And I was chasing that every time I was able to capture, I call it capture a woman, that made me feel good. And then I felt worthy. And then when we would have sex, I would feel the love. And, I hardly ever just wanted a one night stand. It was, I want you to be my mistress, and I want you to be around a while. And, and then I would get sick of it. And, so it's almost embarrassing to even talk about, because it was so long ago. and it's just not who I am today, or have been in many, many years. 18 years now.
Mm. And you mentioned that you were homeless during this time too. Like, how long was that for you? Was it just a brief period in time, or was it kind of long term? Because it sounds like you had a job, or at least you were in the family business for a while. Were you homeless while gainfully employed?
So no, my mom finally fired me, and that's what I needed, because she was done enabling me. Basically, I wasn't getting sober. She knew I needed to get sober, and so when she fired me, I spent another year and a half getting into the cocaine and selling cocaine to support my drug habit, and going from job to job that was never fulfilling and all that good stuff. But no, I was trying to run away from my problems in Colorado. And so I ran to Nebraska, where I had a job promised to me and basically a room to sleep in if I wanted to. I quickly made a mockery of that too. I think I was in and out of there in about a month. I was totally homeless for about 6 months is all. And I never was homeless to a point where I was on the street. I always had people that were willing to give me a couch to sleep on. One of the worst feelings I could even think of in my life is, where am I going to sleep tonight? And having to ask somebody if I could sleep on their couch tonight is so embarrassing. And so that was the height of being pathetic to me, that I didn't, here I thought I was old. I was 30 years old and homeless, and you're supposed to have your life together by then. And by then I'd already gone through life, been wealthy and ruined all that, and was now homeless. And that's quite the progression in a short amount of time.
Yeah, to think about, losing it all, and then when you that coming to Jesus moment is what I like to call it, that you hit rock bottom and you're like, okay, I can't go any lower than I've gone. I've got to start climbing out of this. Let's talk a little bit about that process for you. When you finally had that realization that, I don't like where I'm at.
Yeah.
And you made the conscious decision to start recovering. What, kind of walk us through that process. How did you get back up on your feet? Reinvent yourself?
Yeah. So really I had to beg my brother for a place to stay one last time. And he gave me the option to stay with him only to get sober. And so the deal was no drinking, no drugging while I was there. And so I stayed at his house for, I believe it was 2 months, a month to 2 months. And I just started going to AA. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. I didn't have even a house or a place to, at least I had a room with my brother. And for the first time in 6 months, I actually felt good about where I was sleeping. At least I still felt like I was an encumbrance to him, but at least he was my brother and he was taking care of me. And so all I had to do was concentrate on getting sober. Now, during this whole time, I didn't have my kids. So my goal was to get my kids. And so a couple months into it, I went to 90 meetings in 30 days. So 3 times a day for 30 days straight. I had to immerse myself into sobriety just so I, be there, because, and then when I wasn't there, I was hanging out with those people too, sitting and drinking coffee and stuff. And that's how I had to do it. I had to be 110% or not at all. And then I just sort of slowly backed out. After 60 days ish, I found a job and I stuck with it. And I found a 1-bedroom apartment and got my kids back. And that whole process just started that healing. I needed to have my kids in order to feel strong. And so, I spent, like I said, 5 years with a counselor, but the first 6 months of that sobriety was insane. It was every day picking myself apart and figuring out how I could change and what I needed to change. But I celebrated all the little wins. So I went 30 days sober. That was a win. I got my kids back. I got their birthdays. I made them cakes, the little things that just made me happy and feel good, and made my kids feel like I was their father. Really nothing else mattered at that point. I didn't care what happened as long as they knew I was there for them now. And I just did everything I could to be there. And one of those was staying sober.
Right.
But I made a lot of good friends in sobriety at the rooms of AA and NA. But after a year, I stopped going. Excuse me. For me, it was there's a bunch of train wrecks in there, and it seemed like we were just beating our heads over and over again. And I didn't want to be classified as an alcoholic to my community. I didn't want to walk into a party and somebody asked me if I wanted a drink, and I would say, no, I don't drink. I'm an alcoholic. I changed that thought process to, no, I just don't drink.
Right.
And I did that through actually going to the gym and working out and becoming a bodybuilder, because all those people don't drink. They don't put anything bad in their bodies.
Right.
And so I became that so that it would ease the pressure off of not doing drugs and alcohol when I was around it. And so that was quite the interesting process, because you have to get away from those kind of people. But in today's society, that especially in Colorado, everybody gets high and everybody drinks. So I'm going to be around it. And I knew that. I just didn't want to be, I've always felt like I didn't want to be weird. So,
right.
I just tried to just be me. And ultimately I end up having more fun sober than any of these guys that drink too much. And you attract like-minded people. My wife, she doesn't drink. She has, alcohol once in a while. My kids all drink, but they don't drink to ruin their lives. They didn't grow up with it in the house. In fact, we would have parties and people would bring us booze and stuff, and that would stay on the counter, but it'd never get opened. And all three of them respected that. And they've, my son even says, oh, I'm a weekend warrior. I get drunk on Fridays and Saturdays, and he's making six figures now, kicking ass in the world. And, he's very, they're very responsible. And I think that, I quit soon enough that they didn't see the irresponsible side of drinking.
Right. They couldn't be. Yeah. They didn't see they weren't influenced by your struggle.
Right.
And I like something that you said a little bit ago is you're talking about celebrating those small victories as you were a recovering addict. For me, I was kind of smiling and thinking, because for me, I didn't go through an addiction as much as I just went through depression. And I got to a point when I finally wanted to get myself out of that depression and defeat it. I was just celebrating those small little victories, anything I could just grab a hold of and say, I did this today. And, and then you start building, and then pretty soon, those little rocks, they start building a mountain, and you get yourself out. So what, once you recovered, and then you started to build businesses, right? Did you got back, was it back into bail bond or?
Yeah. So I went back to work for my mom, about 6 months sober. She asked me if I wanted to write a bond in Denver. And so she had these I part-time worked for her, knowing that if I could build her business up, that she could find a full-time, I would be full-time again, like it used to be. So, it's one of those jobs. It's like real estate. You have to do it. You can't really just hire a team of people to do it. That I have to go write the bond. I have the license. So she could only do so much by herself. And so when I came on, the two of us were able to build that business into a huge, profitable business. And with my business, so my mom is a lot like me. She's very creative, and the fact that she got into bail bonds in the first place is amazing. But to run systems and run a business, that was all learned and things that I implemented into the company that helped us be systematic and not go nuts trying to do this job, and made it a two-person job. So anyways, I started opening companies. The problem is that I made enough money to support everybody, but not to support the lifestyle I wanted. I wanted the big house. I wanted nice cars. And I was living comfortably and within my means, but I wanted those means to be larger. And so I would start a company that was for me. Bail bonds was to support the kids, the child support, the ex old lady, and all the stuff that they had in between. It supported that, and it did quite well. For me to have my lifestyle, I had to have something else. So I opened up 4 retail chain stores called Max Muscle. That was the beginning of businesses for me that didn't fail. I had a few before that failed because of my drug stuff. But as soon as I saw the difference, being able to implement a business and get profitable and then help other people and then watch those people give me the reward of being my customer. It was quite unique, and I loved it. It was a feeling that I had never had before. I felt like I earned something by earning their respect. And so we built a hell of a database, my wife and I, through that process. And so every time we start a new company, we've got these built-in people, to start our new business. So we've done well with that. We opened a real estate brokerage back in 2018. Ran that for a while and then sold it because didn't want to do that anymore. So, but yeah, and currently I own a development business, home building business, a construction company, our real estate company, and my bail bonds company. And and then of course I wrote that book. So stuff to do, man.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like you're pretty busy during the day. You talked about wanting to build the lifestyle for you. You were taking care of everybody else, your responsibilities, everything was covered. Now you wanted to start building that life that you wanted, big house, big car, or nice car, things like that. Where I'm going with this is that, you sometimes you hear, and people are afraid to make money because they're told, well, money is the root of all evil, this and that, this and that. What would you say to that? As somebody that's been successful, that has a lifestyle that he wants to live, how would you respond to, no, being rich is bad?
All my haters talk about it always being money. Oh, it's because he has money. His money. Now, the truth is I don't know who my friends are. I know I have a few friends, like 5, that are friends with me for me. The rest of them, we don't know. We don't know if they're there because they want to hang out or if they want the bennies of being around me, financially.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I have never helped so many people ever in my life. You have to make money in order to help others. Yeah. And I ask those people all the time, how many times do you volunteer? How many times do you get out and pay some money to whatever this or that and put your hard earned work where your money made by that, where your mouth is. And the answer is when I was not wealthy and I was just working my butt off to pay rent and that process, I didn't have time to go out and help others. I didn't have time to have dreams. It was work my ass off for somebody else. And so if I wanted these things, I had to go out and get them. And trust me, running your own business is hard work, very, very hard work. The difference is the rewards are great. And anybody that thinks that running a small business makes you rich, holy cow, that is ridiculous. I actually, running those Max Muscle stores was the most difficult thing I've ever done. It's retail, and there was no money in it, but people thought there was. We'd make between all 4 stores, we'd make over about 150,000 a month in gross revenue, but I wasn't making that. I was making a couple grand, for me. So, it wasn't a lot. And once they became more successful, of course, they, and then you sell them and that really is helpful. But, at the end of the day, I think when I think of a billionaire, I just think of how much freaking work they have to do to be a billionaire. And I want no part of it, man. That's not my dream. I don't want to have billions. I want to be comfortable and I want to have freedom. And the only way I can have freedom is to not work my butt off for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. that philosophy of it too, because I believe the same thing that, there's nothing wrong with having nice things or even wanting nice things, if as long as that's not, there's that other aspect of, like you said, charity, getting out there, volunteering, being a voice for the voiceless, so forth and so on. So I think that's, I wanted to ask you that, because that was first time in any of the episodes I had that, somebody with wealth, that at least, that I was aware of.
Yeah.
I could ask that of, because I'm just kind of curious about that.
Well, in society today, man, it is the one percenters are frowned upon, and it's just ignorance. People don't understand. First of all, anybody can make money. That's the beautiful thing about capitalism, is that we can make money by having a great product or work ethic and just go out and do it. Shut up and do it. Go to work. The problem is that we're ignorant as a country to what it costs to run a business. 30% of your income goes right to the tax man, if not more. So,
that's, and then like you said, it's not like you can just wake up and, have your entire day. I mean, you've got to work. Right. This is, it's to run a business is not easy.
It's not. And the risk involved, you have to literally put your life on the line and be willing to be broke if it doesn't work, and that's, some people aren't. And hey, I've got a kid like that he's not going to go out and take a risk. He's going to work for somebody for the rest of his life, but he's happy. And so we need all kinds of people, man. But just leave me alone. That's what I say.
Let's talk a little bit about your book, The Son of a. Is it The Son of a Ditch?
It's Ditches to Riches.
Ditches to Riches. Okay. Yeah. My bad. Let's talk a little bit about that book. Your inspiration. What's it about?
Yeah. So in 2016, August 2016, because my life had not already been hard enough, I actually suffered massive heart failure working in the courthouse one day. And I was given a presentation to 52 probation officers. And my wife, to this point in time, had always said, you're working too hard. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to kill yourself. Slow it down. Well, I was standing there and I felt dizzy, and I turned around and I laughed and I told everybody, my wife always thinks I'm going to have a heart attack. And that was the last words I said before she had to administer CPR. Man. She caught my head literally before it hit the ground. And that was very traumatic on her. And while I was in the hospital, luckily they had AED machines in the courthouse. And so they brought one in, brought me back to life twice, because I came to life, then died, and then came to life. So I woke up in the, I know. So I wake up in the hospital, and then people started visiting me. And now, mind you, I was given a death sentence that, we don't know how long you're going to live. This is bad. And best case scenario, 5 years on the heart you have, you're probably going to need a heart transplant. So really, you're talking about 15 years of your life that you have left maximum. However, you have to survive the next 6 months first, which is the most critical time. And so people were coming in and saying their highs and goodbyes. And really what I got to do was witness my own funeral. And I realized, A, there wasn't enough people coming in to see me at the hospital. And, and B, I was leaving nothing behind that was profound enough to call myself to say there was a legacy. And so when I got all done, I started writing this book sheerly to have my kids understand me, so that they had something to hand down to their kids, and let it go down the pipeline. This book will be there forever. What I found out was that it helps everybody. It helps a lot of people that I mentor. And usually I mentor kids that are, 18 to 35 that have had some adversity in their lives. And I think that's what this book is for. It's not designed to be a motivational book. It's designed to give you tools and to tell you, hey man, somebody's out there has screwed it up so bad and recovered from it and become something. And totally spoil the book, ditches to riches. The riches in my book is relationships. It's not money. Um, I, I I looked back on my life as I wrote the book and could see how much better I was living by the amount of people that were around me. The people, if you want to know how much people love you, just die once and you'll see. So,
Oh, man.
yeah. So, it's done well, and it's only done well because a lot of people wanted to know what the hell was going on up here. Most people don't know that I struggled with addictions and things.
Yeah.
It's been so long sober that everybody forgot what a POS I was back in the day. So
Right.
it's actually kind of fun. And so now I teach, the book is just a tool to kind of give you my basis, but I go out and I teach feel, filter, think, flow to young kids that are starting to have addiction issues or have emotional issues. And I try to do that as much as possible. I teach about 2 or 3 classes a summer. And then, other people, anybody that will have me on and listen to my spiel, I'm happy to do so with them. So
There you go.
but yeah, I chose to get out of the matrix was the plan,
There you go. When you were talking there, so, I picked up on something where, when it comes to death, I'm not afraid to die. I have no fear in that whatsoever. My fear is nobody shows up for the visitation.
Yeah.
It's like, so I live my life. Just, I don't want people to not want to come to the funeral, and I don't want that to sound selfish. I just want to know if I'm able to look down upon it, I want to know that I at least made a positive impact while I was here. So that's, that's my biggest fear is nobody comes to the visitation. But
absolutely.
With that said, though, let me say, with karma, Mother Nature, whatever, whoever's listening, I don't want to have a heart attack right now. That
Yeah, please.
When you said it, it's kind of like Mother Nature's like, oh yeah, hold my beer. I'm gonna, and then all of a sudden you have a heart attack. It's like, what the heck? Something that I've been intrigued about in your profile is an acronym LLYD. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. I was actually going to bring that up. So I've learned how to die. I had to learn how to live. And so so it's live like you're dying. And that's the new philosophy I came up with when I thought I was going to die and I needed to go back out and see people and reestablish relationships and say goodbye. I went on a good farewell tour, if you will. I went and saw my family, certain family members and friends that I hadn't seen in a while, and learned how to say goodbye formally with them. And it was super sad. But the time we spent together during that while I was there, it was only a couple days each, was so valuable. I took my wife to Mexico, and every second we were together was just like time went by slow. It was meaningful. I didn't care what we were doing anymore. I just wanted to be with her. And the same goes with most everybody, in fact, my buddy took on that slogan. He's my ride or die friend. And he changed careers. And in doing so, he got to pick kind of where he was going to start his new career at. And he chose to be close to me. And finally, the first time since college, we 5 miles from each other, and I see him every single day now. And that's what I mean by just quit saying you're going to do something and do it. You got to do it, man. And that's where the book was established from. I kept saying I wanted to write one. Well, freaking do it, man.
Yeah. And I'm going to guess you weren't an author before that.
No,
you just did it. You just said it. I mean, I was never a podcaster before this podcast. I just said, do it and see what happens and adjust as you go. But
so I think people get the most real Brian when you don't try and know what you're doing. You're getting like the real person, and that's what I do with everything. I just go out and learn by street smarts and example. Whatever life tests me, it teaches me a lesson, and I try to move on from there. You get the real person that way.
You've got a website, ronworley.com.
Yep.
And I've been on it and surfed around a little bit, but let's tell everybody, well, let's get into what all do you have going on? You got the book, you got the website.
Yeah.
How do people connect with Ron Worley?
Yeah. So I do have the podcast too. It's Sons of Ditches. Season 1 is out. I've got season 2 I'm working on now. I'm just trying to get little snippets of stories out there with some of the people that I work with. I do coach, but I don't charge money for it. And I try not to be one of those coaches that tells you how to get rich. That's not by design. That's not what I'm made to do. My purpose in this world is to guide, help, and be that wisdom for people. And so I do that absolutely free. I can help people come up with values in their life and give them a springboard forward. And so if they want to hit me doing that, email me at ron@ronworley.com. Piece of cake. I'll answer you back and we can start a conversation. We can do Zoom or meet in person, whatever. And then, of course, I'm a bail bondsman, a real estate agent and those things. But, as far as the book and stuff goes, find me on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the general places, or just go to my website.
How about in the podcast? Is it available iTunes, Spotify, all those?
All of them. Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
I was just going to say, if somebody's reaching out to you for the bail bondsman side of they really need to reach out to you because they need your messages. I think if they're at that point.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a scary place to be. So in the last few moments that we have together, is there, I just want to open it. If there's anybody, shout outs, words of wisdom, anything that you just want to leave us with.
Yeah, man. So the words of wisdom, I believe this wholeheartedly. Our past does not define us. And if we can just get up in the morning, look in the mirror and love that person, we're off to a good day. If you don't let it hit you, man. You come back to it. The great thing about the image in the mirror is that it changes. It's different every time. We just start over. So if you screw up, fix it. Don't fix it. Apologize, whatever you got to do, but go back to the mirror and with a clean slate and love that person in the mirror, and move forward. Always move forward. Nobody gives a rat's what you've done wrong. After a while, we forget. And I'm a man at taking a good apology anytime. So, of course I have values and I think that's good for everybody. If you don't have any, go find some, call me, I'll get you some. But yeah, man, don't let the mistakes in our lives define your present or future.
Yeah, that's great. That's great words of wisdom, and it did bring up another question here. So I got to keep you for another minute.
No worries.
Let's talk about defining those values because I know that could be a hard thing to do, especially that when somebody's kind of crawling out of that hole they've dug. If somebody's looking, saying, "Hey, Ron, I don't know how to define the values I have," what would be something you could offer? Just start here with it.
Right. Yeah. So go to mayhemmindset.com. They have that's the company I'm affiliated with. They actually have like a starter test kit there. That's a good way to sort of get your mind into it. But really at the end of the day, what we're looking for is what your B is. Your B is your core, and that's your talents, your values, and your purpose. And once we've established that, who you be, then the rest of what you do follows real easy, because then all of a sudden everything we do is towards our B. And so I try to live my B every day. The 10 values that comes easy once you figure out what your B is. So I challenge everybody to think about it that way. We all have values somewhere inside of us. We just may not talk about them. We may not use them to the forefront of our lives. And when I talk about getting out of the matrix, that's what I mean. You live a different type of life when you actually live according to your values rather than emotion, which we need emotion or life would suck. I mean, literally life would suck if we didn't have emotion. But our reaction to emotion needs to change, especially in America. Honestly, we're so upside down and black is white and white is black, and it's just bad. And if people would feel, think, filter, and flow, we would
Yeah.
be better off. Everybody needs to listen to Ron.
You say that one more time, your acronym there, one more time.
Feel, filter, think, flow.
All right, that's great. Feel, filter, think, and flow.
Yep.
Did I get it?
Yep.
All right. Well, very cool. Anybody that's listening, the audience, or if you're watching this video, go check out Ron's website, check out his podcast, check out his book. I did not get a chance to get to the book before our conversation today, but I will be reading the book. And hey, I'm gonna see if I can get you to commit to maybe being on this show again later on down the road, because I think we just started scratching the surface here today.
Absolutely.
All
I'm
right.
happy to, man. That'd be fun.
All right. Well, I am going to keep your contact information close by, and yeah, I'll be reaching out down the road as this podcast continues to grow and develop. So, Ron, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy, but your story is a great one.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me on, man.
All
Good
right.
to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you. Hang tight. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna have a little post-stream conversation here.
All right, brother.